Um, the welcome, Saswata. Thank you for accepting our invitation.
Thank you.
I first was introduced to Saswata through a mutual contact, Tom Austin, a professor on the computer science faculty at San Jose State, where I have a faculty appointment as well. And when I described the sort of things that we were doing at Linqto, and immediately Saswata's name came up as being someone who would be a good person to talk. So welcome, Saswata. I'm just wondering a little bit about your background and what your journey was to get from where you started out in Canada, I believe, and what your journey was, how you arrived here in Silicon Valley.
Sure. Thank you, John, for inviting me. I think you guys are doing this is an excellent platform to educate people, especially in both, and you're basically bridging the crypto community and the enterprise community, which is great. I think this is a great platform to educate people. And so I think I'm honored to be here. Obviously, it's exciting to talk about our project. So let me talk. I know you asked me where, my journey. So I guess, one of the things is that while I was born in India, actually, I kind of grew up in Tanzania, which is in Africa. And then I moved to Canada to do my bachelor's. And then I did my master's and PhD at UCLA, which, I did it in 3 years. So I did both a thesis and yeah, it was like two different projects. So it was coursework projects, but it was an exciting time. Had a great time there. And then, I after that, it was all startups pretty much. Even, I joined companies like Intel and Aviat Networks, which are and Harris Networks. These are just pretty big companies. But I worked in a startup division, so they would ask me to join a division and start something new. So it's all been startups all my life, and I enjoy it because I can move from one project to another project, and it was very exciting. So certainly, I was doing, prior to this project, I was doing a AI for AgTech, and a system that would allow sensors to send data to the blockchain. And that's what I was thinking of doing. I mean, we built a system for a large farm so that they can estimate how much water they're using, how they can efficiently use water, because in California, water, there's a big shortage and it's very expensive. So one of the things was to market this data. And blockchain is an ideal platform to market this data. But in 2017, that's when we started, there wasn't really a platform that was available. So like Ethereum was slow, Bitcoin is very slow. So we wanted to develop something that is fast, scalable, and can basically accommodate enterprise applications at a very low cost, so that for IoT data, for any data, the transaction cost is low, and so you could provide a data marketplace, which would be ideal for for many industries, especially AgTech.
So that AgTech offering that was a successful venture, I guess, and it sounds perfect for a blockchain type of application.
Yeah, I mean, AgTech, that project was going on for a couple of years, but one of the things with AgTech is it is slow business. It is subsidized. So that's why we transitioned over to blockchain, and now that's almost done. I think we can apply our platform to the farmers and be able to present a solution that can help any IoT application. Actually, it's not just farmers, but any IoT application that can leverage our platform. In fact, one of our community members has been able to use Raspberry Pi to send data to our platform. So that's pretty exciting.
So this is a case of integrating the data collection component right from the physical world, so to speak, and bringing that data then into the back end to spot the patterns and do the AI analysis, as well as make the market.
Right. So I mean, we provide the storage platform where we provide. So there are two things we basically provide. Thank you. That's our platform. That is the zero chain storage platform. We provide this platform, and for any application, obviously for IoT, you upload the data and send it to our platform. And then you can do AI analysis. And then after the AI analysis, you can store the data back to our platform. Now, if you look at where the industry is heading, they're basically uploading this data and sending it to offline database. And now this could be data lake or this what's called data lake now, but in the old days we used to call them data warehousing or data mining, right? So that's where you ingest the data, you collect the data, you organize the data, and then you add AI to that data to derive business intelligence in order to drive your business. Now, one of the problems that has come up in the recent years is that the privacy element of it. So we have now compliance. This data that you're using, are you using customer data? So do they have the rights? Do they know that you're using this data for business intelligence? And so there is required from GDPR compliance, which is pretty much adopted worldwide now under different privacy regulations, that you need to have a way to trace the data, show all the data activities to the to the users, and so that you don't get sued, or if there is a breach, so that we know who the liability, which party is liable. So a typical case for IoT data is that, yes, I send the data out, but then this data goes to the processor, let's say the cloud, and then it's shared by multiple, by other companies. And if there's a data breach, then all these companies are essentially liable. And the small and medium enterprises will get hurt a big time, because any penalties or any fees, any lawsuits, they would have a huge risk to their business. And that's what we're trying to reduce with this zero store platform that we have. We are trying to reduce that risk, that liability risk, with this storage platform. Now, obviously, our storage platform does more than reduce risk. It's a blockchain-based storage platform, but it enables you to store the data more securely than any other technology that is around. And it allows you to audit the data in a immutable way. So there's no basically questions about where the demarcation of the data is. You have a clear walled data lake, if you want to call it, or a walled privacy storage platform. And that's what we are providing with the zero store, as you see on the slide here.
So that last point is rather interesting. That what are we saying? We're saying that the location of the data is defined, that it is stored in a particular some part of the blockchain, but in the physical world, it is located under a particular jurisdiction. Is that what you were getting at, or is there something else here?
No. So there are two issues. Jurisdiction is a little bit separate. It's based on certain jurisdictions can prevent a government from looking into the data.
Yeah.
But in the US, for instance, the privacy law doesn't apply. So government can look into your data. It can force AWS or Oracle to look into your data. And that's the Schrems 2 case, which is a ruling, GDPR, one of the GDPR rulings that happened in Europe. So when data originating in Europe, even though it could be private or deemed to be private, could be looked into by the US government if it is stored in the US. So that's a separate issue. What I'm talking about is demarcation of data, right? So if I have data, if I'm an enterprise, or let's say I'm an analytics company, if I have data coming in from a partner company, a large partner, and there's a breach, then I'm liable. Regardless of where the breach happened, whether it was a breach that happened at the large company or my company. So in order to protect myself, I can use this platform and clearly delineate what happened, clearly demarcate what happened to the data, right? So because there's all the data activities are stored on or stamped or recorded on the blockchain. So if you do an upload, if you do a download, if you do a delete, all of those activities are recorded on the blockchain. And so you have a clear list of activities that you've done with the data prior to the breach or during the breach. So you have a way to prove that you're not the liable party.
So some of this is you mentioned GDPR. And perhaps it might help to just to explain a little bit about the context there. My understanding was that it only applied in Europe, but maybe if you could explain what GDPR is all about, that might be helpful for some of our audience.
Sure. Yeah. So GDPR is there are a bunch of rules. I guess the important ones is that the user has a right to delete data. The user has a right to ask for data activities of their data. And the user could be a customer in a B2C or even a B2B. It could be a partner that could ask that. And so it applies to any company doing business, whether it's a B2B or B2C. B2B may not be as much as bad as B2C, but B2C is pretty bad because any customer can request data. Now, all these requests can bog a company down and increase your legal discovery costs. And what we do with the blockchain is make it very simple. It's very open, it's transparent. Anybody can actually access it. So you can provide access to the user to see where your data activities are and where your data has been stored all this time. So it gives you transparency to the user. Now, the other aspect of GDPR is joint controller. Let's say there's a breach, right? So one is data subject rights, the other is a security breach. So now who is liable? Now GDPR says, well, all parties involved are liable. So in order to clearly, excuse me, in order to clearly demarcate your territory, your enterprise, you need something that allows you to prove that you're not the liable party. And the only way to do it is to have a blockchain-based system, blockchain-based storage system. And that's what we provide.
That's fascinating, because I hadn't quite thought of blockchains as having that feature. That it is really neat. Another thing that
by the way, this is we are the first ones doing it. So this has not been marketed by anyone else. So this is a education part that we have engaging with chief privacy officers, chief data officers of pretty large companies and some small, medium businesses, because all of them face this problem and they want this problem solved in an elegant way. And we have a way to solve this problem in a very efficient and elegant manner without increasing their cost. In fact, the ROI for such a deployment would be positive from day one, especially if you consider the liability risk that they face and is an existential threat for the company, right? Because there are companies in Europe that are shutting down because of GDPR. They don't want satellite, like a company operating in the US. If they have a satellite company in Europe, they have shut down some of their satellite offices because they can't do business because they'll be overwhelmed with lawsuits or
Yeah.
potential lawsuits.
Yes, I'm familiar with some of the challenges where, especially where data is being shared by multinational companies, and some of the data may be being processed here in the United States, and it has also come up in Europe. There are some issues related to this whole privacy issue, related to the United Kingdom leaving the European Union. That it's not clear at the moment whether the same privacy rules will apply or need to apply in the UK after, I guess, after the end of next month.
Yeah, I mean, the rules, so GDPR is European Union, but all the elements of GDPR is fairly well adopted, or I would say most of it is adopted in other countries under different names. So for instance, in the US, you have CCPA, which I think will be called CRPA or something like that, or CCRA, I don't remember, which is California version of GDPR.
That's right.
And
Yes, of
it's
course.
gonna look very much like GDPR.
Yeah. But so I'm thinking, I'm putting on a hat of a like a chief privacy officer at a corporation, and so I come to you and I say, well, I have these privacy issues that need to be addressed within my company. I also have a large amount of data mining and machine learning systems that I'm using on the data. How does that problem align? How does the solution for that problem align with what Zero Chain is providing? Are you just providing the storage, or can I bring additional processing resources to work with the data that I'm storing on the blockchain?
Yeah, so actually I published an article on Oracle blog. I think I posted it on LinkedIn at some point, I think last week or something. And yeah, a simple solution. Yeah, if you look at that, you will see that there is if you click on that, there's a diagram that I want to point out to, where it's a very non-invasive approach. So if you scroll all the way down, so scroll down more. Yeah, there. So you can see, like if I'm an enterprise, I have basically an online, yeah, if you look at the diagram there for a minute, you will see there's an online process, which most of the companies have. And the offline process is where all the analytics is done, or what do you call a data lake? I mean, you could call the offline process the whole thing as a data lake. And we could be in the data lake, or we could be in that, basically think of it as another offline process. So there are different ways you can implement this. And I will write another article about how we can be integrated within the data lake, workflow. Basically, as you ingest data, you put that data into our platform. And there could be, so as you know, for data lakes, you have ingest you're ingesting data of different formats, different data formats and attributes, and then you put it on our platform, and then you basically organize the data, right? And add some features to that data, and then you also store it somewhere. So think of it as a storage layer, as a walled storage layer inside the data lake. So as you go through this workflow, so you have an ingestion, you have a collection and feature addition of the data, and then you have analysis of the data, right? The analysis part, you do something to the data, you derive intelligence, and you store that data again to derive that intelligence. Then you can think of this as three separate buckets. Three separate buckets could be three separate zero-store platforms that would be sitting inside the data lake. Today, the data lake, you're basically storing it straight to the servers instead of storing it straight to the server. So you're basically gonna have the zero chain software layer, which rides on top of the same infrastructure that you're using in the data lake.
Yeah, I really like the data lake expression, and especially those different partitions, if you will, that you just mentioned there. But just one other quick question, and then maybe we can open it up to see if there's some specific items from the audience. In the among the clients that the company is going after, you mentioned small and medium-sized companies. Are there any government related use cases here? Would this technology be valuable for certain government applications that you can think of?
Oh, absolutely. Again, this is not, we haven't disclosed it yet, but we are bidding for some government contracts that relate to privacy, data sharing, and once basically across the and this is not just government, but obviously this is across all industries, whether it's healthcare, government, where government is identity solution, and then on the enterprises like e-commerce, automotive, IoT, all of this are big industries where we can find, where even if in B2B, we find that having our platform within the workflow of a data architecture is beneficial as companies move from traditional architecture to a privacy compliant architecture, because nobody has really put on the privacy hat and looked at it in a way where to solve it elegantly. I mean, they do have logs and stuff, right? Today you have logs of activities, but anybody can change the logs, right? So you cannot really go to a court and say, oh, I have logs of activities and clearly shows that there was no breach during there was no activity during the breach in our data center. So that is going to be hard to prove. Whereas if you have a blockchain-based storage platform, it's impossible to not to dispute that. So I think people, they don't have a blockchain-based storage solution today. So the best scenario is today they record all the log activities, and they don't have a storage solution that is as secure as what we are providing. So what we are providing is striping the data across several servers. And so when you stripe the data across several servers, there are two things that happens. One, you get performance. Two, you get higher level of security. And why do you get higher level of security? Is because if one server is hacked, they won't get access to the entire data, because it's divided up, it's split into chunks. So it's a more secure way to store data. And of course, it's a way to have a built-in privacy compliance.
Yeah, I like the idea of getting better performance and also higher security, because most solutions tend to be one versus the other.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if there's any audience questions. If anybody has a question, please either raise your hand or drop it into the chat. We have some. We've got a reasonable amount of time. Go ahead, Carly.
Yeah, John, I'm here. So while you guys formulate your questions, I have a couple of things to say to Saswata. So first thing, we're neighbors in the old age. I'm originally from Kenya, so Tanzania is cool.
Yeah, I've been to Kenya.
And
Nice.
no, it's awesome. So it was funny that you mentioned the IoT, agriculture, ag tech, especially now that the developing and lesser developed countries are really focused on ag tech in particular. I know Tanzania is a great producer of cashew nuts, I believe. They're getting really strong in avocados. Everything that AgTech needs to measure water output, soil conservancy. But I wanted to tail this onto, we have Jonathan Nelson, who is the founder and managing director of Hacker Fund, who will be joining us on the Global Investor Conference, December 8th, and probably both days, December 8th and December 9th. And we were speaking last week about what Hacker Fund does and what some of his initiatives are. Because he's made a bunch of money, so he doesn't really have to really worry about day-to-day living. And one of the things one of his big initiatives over this last Q and the next year will be creating an a publicly traded fund that supports companies who are really involved in companies such as AgTech, IoT, and improving the lives of either the unbanked, underbanked, or ag tech or community, people who face community environments. So it's something that, perhaps you should try and join us for that event as well and have some pertinent questions because of your experience.
Sure.
But to the rest of you guys who are here today, I think this will be really a learning environment because Jonathan is very passionate about this whole idea of being able to provide a seamless investable opportunity that doesn't that's not cost prohibitive because of the IPO scenario in the US. So this should be a fun, interesting topic for all of us.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So hopefully we'll see that.
So something that is rather topical at the moment is obviously the use of these sorts of technologies for elections and for voting and verifying the integrity of elections. Have you had has this topic come up at all in relation to the business?
Yeah, I mean, we actually talked to a couple of companies about it. But it's we can only pursue this is something that entrepreneurs should try to use our platform. We have talked to a company in India that was going to use our platform for elections, and this is elections that for small elections, not like large elections, but and this can be done for anything, right? IEEE has elections. So any probably Linqto could use it for their election in terms of some level of governance. So yes, our blockchain can be used for such elections, and this is something that we have actually a patent on our ideas or our protocols, how we handle it. So this is something that we plan to engage with anybody who wants to use our platform, and but we're not going to be out there. So we are a platform company. We sell technology to enabling technology that can use our platforms. That's what we want to do. Obviously, we have some products that are focused on certain markets, but we don't want to go after every market because it will dilute our focus and
Indeed.
execution.
So I see, noted Virginia, I think, did you have a question? I saw an item in the chat there.
Actually, Alan beat me to the punch on that question. Yeah, very topical. Thank you so much. I actually was also asking if it could be, you know, a good use case in terms of using it to maybe count elections, election votes. But in terms of government use cases, you say that it's a platform and not a product. How does that change the ability for it to be used in terms of like a government? How does that change your ability to market to that? Why wouldn't you choose that, I guess, that client in terms of what you're currently marketing to?
Right. So I think, you know, we are a platform, but an application can use our platform and create wonderful products. We cannot basically make all different products for different applications. So what you're saying is an identity application, let's say for the government, if it's an identity application like your driver's license or a passport, right? All of that can be done on our platform. And, you know, we have worked with businesses that want to bid our platform with government. So we have done that. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was, I'm familiar with some of those sorts of projects where a prime contractor will put together a team of several companies,
right,
and researchers to go after a large government contract. So I imagine you're probably familiar with that process, and that's the way you're working.
Yeah. I mean, that's we don't want to like pursue every opportunity, but you know, when we go out for grants, so we have. You know, we're working on a couple of grants for National Science Foundation. There is Department of Defense, Air Force. They have a lot of interesting applications that we want to use our technology for. And that's something that's where I think we can partner with the government to solve some of the problems. And that's right now we are working through it. Nothing has been announced. Once we get those grants, we'll announce them.
Well, this is. I look forward to hearing the news on that one. Actually, the mention of grants brings up another topic having to do with the financing strategy, the investment profile that the company has. Whereabouts are you in your funding fundraising process?
Yeah. So. We are, I mean, we are comfortable where we are right now. We have a customer that won't be announced until probably next quarter, and they'll be paying us. So I think, and it's a very large customer, let's put it this way. And so I think we're comfortable where we are, but we would like to get investment. I think one of the things we're waiting on is some of the things we want to accomplish before we get to that stage. For instance, rolling out the mainnet. I think that's our current focus right now, so that we deliver what we said we will deliver to the crypto community. And that will also bode well for our Zero Store platform. So which is geared toward the enterprises. So that's one of the things that we want to do before we go fundraising. For the equity, I guess you mean equity, or do you mean tokens?
No, I was thinking of equity in terms of,
yes. So this is equity for
seed
tokens,
round, Series A, and so on.
That's right. Series A, it'll be basically getting a couple of customers using our product. You know, and then we go out and fundraise because that we can have a much larger fundraise instead of, I mean, if you go without a paying customer, then it would be in the low, you know, less than $1 million. If you go with several customers, proven business model, then, you know, we can go much higher.
They're already on the road there. No, that's good. That's good news.
So before we take over the whole conversational piece here in Q&A. Is there anyone out there who has a question that'd like to ask?
Could you hold on 1 second? Let me open up the window curtain here because it was very bright when we started out.
Yep.
I think now you can see me better.
I can see. Anyone out there who has a question? Otherwise, we'll continue asking questions from the team here and other folks. Okay. So tell us a little bit about a couple of different things that come to mind. The current situation has had a lot of interest has been developed and generated into the crypto community and the digital assets community. You've moved from the ag tech, IoT, going into blockchain, zero chain. You've got a whole bunch of solutions for storage and transference of data. How today is this beneficial, and what aspects are beneficial to the crypto community that we should know about?
Yeah, well, we are Uberizing cloud storage. We are changing how humanity can basically, if you have some level of IT background, can have the ability to earn more, actually can scale this, more than Uber driver, and with just a piece of server sitting in a data center. So, and there are 50,000 MSPs in the US alone. MSPs are managed storage providers or managed service providers, but they provide IT to small and medium businesses. There are about 2 million businesses, small and medium businesses in the US, and they serve them. So for them, it's an easy thing to buy a server, which they know where to get it from, and then put it in the data center, which they may already have extra servers lying around, and they just use our software to provide that service. And on our platform, you could decide where to send the data to. It's not like random. So you could send the data to your own servers and serve your business. So this is a very good way of earning a living without much work. If you have some level of IT background, and you don't need to even work at a company, because you could be making 100K or something with just a couple of cabinets full of servers. So we are Uberizing cloud storage, and cloud storage is huge. So it's not going to affect AWS. It's really, if you look at the data, it's increasing by 5-fold in the next 5 years. Where is the data going to go? Obviously, bulk of the data is going to go to the cloud, but we can be one of the other alternate cloud where we provide transparency, privacy, and a decentralized platform. And I think that will be kind of an overflow. Think of it as an overflow. So I don't think we're taking business away from AWS, but we're providing an alternate that allows startups, whether developers or well, most of them will be developers. Most of them will be startups. They'll be using our platform.
That's great. So that's Uberizing cold storage and making some money out of it. Great. Yeah. Okay, we're at the end of the meeting. I think everyone's got the message now.
Oh no, I have several people that I know that I should refer to you. Who work in exactly that space of having their own servers and managing their. They'd be happy to do some Uber work as well.
So anyone out there who has a response to this or a question on how to Uberize cold storage and
it's cloud storage, but I mean it's not
cloud
just.
Storage,
I mean you can provide high performance. So here's the thing. Our platform is not for cold storage. It's for enterprise applications. And we have proven that with our ZeroBox app, and we'll be proving that with our Zero Store platform for the enterprises. It's the same technology that we're going to use in the cloud. The performance is basically depends on how you configure your server. So we split up the data into multiple pieces. And so you could have, let's say 10 servers, and you can get 10x performance because you're splitting the data up into 10 chunks and sending it in parallel. So you have high performance, you have high availability. So if servers go down, you can still access the data. And you have high level of security because if you hack a server, you can recover the data. So I think it's, and you have built in basically privacy compliance for developers who can, if you look at AWS, if you look at Azure, they started with small developers. And one of the projects, they make it big. And if they make it big, they stay with the platform. And that's what we're hoping.
You mentioned earlier that you didn't think that you would be taking business away from AWS, that you would be a parallel offering. And on the face of it, I don't think it would be a problem at all if you took business away from AWS. There's a lot of resource there that that you could draw upon, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, look, they can be also a participant on our platform. They can change their business. I don't think they will be affected by what we do. They are, at the end of the day, they're.
So, Frankie, I see you had a question in there about VPN. Do you want to follow up with it? Your microphone is on mute. Okay. The question from Frankie is there a VPN? Is there a similarity to virtual private networks here?
It's not a virtual private network. It's actually think of it as it's a storage platform. At the end of the day. So you store data on this platform. You can also participate and provide storage for that platform. So it's not a VPN. You could design an app on our platform that will provide that feature, but we are not a VPN.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking. Perhaps there's the VPN would be at another layer on your platform.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to the investor story question again here. What do you see? Where do you see the company in, let's say, 2 years' time or 4 years' time? What's the grand vision going out there?
Sure. Well, the grand vision is basically merging the traditional market, enterprise market, with the crypto platform or crypto market. So think of this: if I again have enterprises stored their data with our private platform in the cloud, there's no reason why they cannot back up their data on our public platform with cryptocurrency. And by the way, the cryptocurrency is just a misnomer because in a sense, they'll be paying dollars. That interface is pretty easy to do. In fact, we're doing with ZeroBox. It's a dollar interface. So you pay with dollars, and behind the scenes, basically you're using tokens. So it's just, anytime you're using our platform, you want a secondary storage platform. And that's something that you can use as an outside public network, decentralized network. There are two reasons why you want to use it. One, it allows you to be more transparent, and it allows you to be have a higher level of security because it's truly decentralized. Whereas if you're operating within a cloud platform, your own private platform, it's still, you're controlling it. You're controlling the network.
I see.
And so in terms of, usage, I see there's a lot of usage of our platform. We want to be the #1 decentralized platform, decentralized storage platform. There are other platforms out there like Filecoin is one of them. And, we want to be the #1. Filecoin is really for the archive market. I don't think we compete, or they can compete with us on the high performance application side. So we want to be, the #1 platform for developers that have B2C applications, B2B applications that require this level of privacy. We have a walled privacy platform. So, and we expect that shift to happen in probably a year or so, where they adopt our architecture as a way to have a privacy compliant data architecture within an enterprise. And that will help the crypto market as well. Now, on the privacy front, I think we have a great app, ZeroBox app, which is like Dropbox, but has basically, you don't need a login, you don't need a password. You own your data, you have complete privacy, transparency, and anonymity. That's something we expect that to consume a lot of data on our crypto platform. And our crypto asset it will be the first that has a physical asset behind it. No other cryptocurrency has a physical asset like our platform. So if you look at decentralized finance, there has been a lot of movement in cryptocurrency in the decentralized finance, we believe that our version of decentralized finance, which is a storage DeFi, would have a lot more stability. It'll bring a lot more stability to the DeFi alternative for investors who are dabbling in cryptocurrency, who wants a steady return on investment. So there will be different opportunities once we get our mainnet going, and that we expect to happen, hopefully this quarter or next quarter, depending on a couple of issues that we are working through.
Those are sort of technical issues?
Yeah, technical issues.
Deal with. I see.
It's always technical. We're a cutting edge technology, so.
Yeah, I was. I saw that question in the chat about mainnet, and I was just about to ask you. I'm just keeping an eye on the time here. Mike or Karim, is there any other kind of housekeeping issues or next steps that we want to go through here?
Well, yes. While I do that housekeeping, if anyone has a question, let us know and we'll bring it up. But I wanted to thank you today. Thank you today for all the time and effort and information you've shared with us. I mean, I'm sure there are a few out there like me that are quite baffled. The idea of an opportunity to Uberize this sort of environment is interesting, and we should explore that a little bit more and how that works. I think talking about the DeFi and how you're going to back that up with something real would be something that we should think about through, John, as we come up with the Global Investors Conference on December 8th, because there are several topics about DeFi, CeFi at that conference, and data storage as well as a blockchain. And then obviously I talked about Jonathan's passion about setting up an environment to help the community.
Actually, on that point, can I share a document?
Yes.
Yes, of course.
And then we have Larry. We have Larry who has a question. So
Larry has a question as well.
Yeah. Share while you pull up your document, Larry, why don't you ask your question?
Okay. Can you see the document?
Yes.
Okay. So can you see the graph, storage-based DeFi?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So you can see that, once we hit mainnet, as there is storage, as there's increase in storage, right? We expect the, token value, which is proportional to the stored data, because both client and provider has to stake or lock their tokens. The provider has to lock their tokens because that's the only way we can determine if they are performing effectively. And we have a challenge performance like no other protocol, which allows you to know if the provider provides SLAs. So for instance, they have to provide a response within a certain time. For instance, 120 seconds. So if I challenge a provider that give me a piece of data, they need to respond within that 120 seconds. Now, if you don't have a good server or a good network, then obviously you will fail challenges. If you fail challenges, then you'll not receive payment, and you might be even punished for your stakes. So you will be slashed, your stakes will be slashed. So our protocol has that built-in SLA, which no other protocol does. So we expect this curve to grow. I don't know what kind of growth it'll be. Will it be, linear, or will it be exponential? If you look at some of the cryptocurrencies, they have been exponential growth. So we'll see. We'll see how this growth happens.
Okay, so we have a question from Larry. Thank you for that, sharing that. The question is, how will data marketplaces operate on OChain? Will OChain be pursuing this idea after mainnet launch?
Yes, of course. Yeah, it's on our roadmap. So we expect to, we can partner with anyone, but we will have our own platform. Again, we don't want to compete with other platforms, but we'll have a basic platform that can enable sharing files and basically private sharing files, or it can be shared like YouTube. Today at YouTube, a lot of YouTube bloggers, they're not earning any money unless they have 20,000 viewers, I believe. That's the minimum threshold. So we want to reach that market where they are able to earn some money through our platform. So we expect that to happen for any data, but we expect YouTube, SoundCloud, artists on some of the sites that share images, videos, and music clips. All of those guys can basically be able to provide, upload their data and be able to provide a platform to market that data.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We're coming up to that time now. And okay, there's one question here that I'd like to read out.
Sure.
Yeah.
How receptive have CIOs, CFOs have been to using decentralized platform? What is their main concerns with storage?
Actually, they have been receptive. On the enterprise side, we don't talk about a public decentralized storage platform, because I think is they're not ready for that yet. Once they use our platform in a private setting, then the conversation can be about, okay, where do you store the backup of this data? And I think there we can say, look, you have a public platform that is better than actually what you have on a private setting. And you should store that data on that platform. It's a better storage platform. And ultimately, I feel that they will move to that platform eventually. Maybe it won't happen, next year. It may happen over 5 years. They will totally move to the decentralized storage platform. But they need to be educated. They need to be comfortable. And so that's it's a process. So once they get comfortable with their internal cloud, their private cloud, then and they're using the same technology that's in the decentralized environment, then it's a very small change for them.
This is great. I'm looking forward to following the progress of this whole area. It's been great.
It's very exciting. Thank you for having me here, by the way.
Well, thank you for joining us.